what does it even mean to be willing to or to wanting to grow professionally and yet not wanting to manage people? Like this whole concept where we say so much around managing people, being with people, and here's something like it's okay if you don't want that.
Only
So what?
22% of people, even after years of doing this Gallup poll, are, I'll call it, happy in their workplace, in their role. So that to me is so sad. But think about, even though I'm a SME and I may or may not want to be a leader, I may want to develop those skills because the future is this. Okay, here's your path in our organization.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're doing this, then you're doing that, and this is, we're going to teach you this, and you're going to do that, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
From the moment you are onboarded, right?
So,
And then you get to the year-end performance eval, and where do you want to go in your career? Well, I have no idea. I've been here 6 months. I'm not sure.
hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of Aastha Unplugged, the podcast series where we do some real talk. So, we have leaders every week from different domains, and they come and talk to you from their lives, which is why we say it's real talk. Some real profound, authentic nuggets that we get from them. And for each one of you watching, listening out there, I'm sure at some point you're able to relate, oh, that's me, or maybe I just needed to hear this. And that's the whole idea of this podcast series. So within this, today I have with me a very, very amazing lady. She's beautiful, she's amazing, and she's your transformation partner. Join me in welcoming Anne Pertus. Hi, Anne. A very, very warm welcome to you. Such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. I'm honored to have this conversation with you today.
Lovely. Great. So let me just help you all know who Anne is. Let me introduce her to you very, very briefly. Anne is the co-founder of the Pillars, and Pillars is a boutique consulting firm which is specializing in change and transformation. They help organizations, teams, and leaders build human workplaces. So if you're really looking at, you're open to transforming, fostering a culture which is, forward-looking, people-centric, human-centric, then this is your place. Yeah. What is amazing is, we were just talking, there's an assessment that has been created, which is called OTAS. And this assessment helps in understanding where the organization, where the teams are currently, and what is it that they need to focus on now. So where do you start focusing on? Yeah. And one of the pillars of this assessment, OTAS, is leadership. Yeah. So the question is everyone made or want to be a leader? And that gives me a segue into today's topic, what we're going to be talking about today. Are you looking to grow professionally, but you don't like managing people? Isn't that interesting? I'm sure some of you are like, oh, yes, that's me. So we will dive and delve into the finer nuances of all of this. And if you are somebody who doesn't like managing people, but you think, oh, no, how can I even grow without managing people? Then you will get all your answers here. So let's dive straight into this. Once again, a very warm welcome, Anne, and I really am looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you. You put it so well that, and I would add to that, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what time in your life this is, this questioning of, what if I don't want to be a leader, manager, leader, so whether you're a recent graduate, whether you've been in the workplace maybe just a couple of years, or 5 years, 10 years, there's so much change. And we've just gone through and still going through a global pandemic. And a lot of people are questioning themselves. Do I want to do this or not? And what does it give me? That sort of thing. So I just wanted to add that it doesn't matter where in your career, in your life, that's going to be helpful.
Oh, wow. So wherever you are, this is relevant. Lovely. Great. So I want to get started by understanding, and what does it even mean to be willing to, or to wanting to grow professionally, and yet not wanting to manage people. Like this whole concept where we say so much around managing people, being with people, and here's something like it's okay if you don't want that. So what does this even mean
Hey,
fundamentally?
fundamentally, exactly. If you're at the beginning of your career, you may not have the experience to know, do I want to go into management leadership? Maybe you don't know. Maybe you've been there 5 years and go, I'm looking at other managers and I go, do I want that life? Yay or nay? And there's no good or bad answers on this. Or you've been there for 10 years and maybe you've been in a leadership role and going, this doesn't make me happy anymore. This doesn't fulfill me. So I would start, no matter where you are in your career, I would start with assessing yourself. Be honest with yourself. And there's so many assessments out there, behavioral, whether it's DISC, MBTI, whatever, but have those assessments on your behavioral styles. There's also the Strengths Finder that we know from Marcus Buckingham and company. And so look into this. Do those assessments. Be as honest with yourself as possible, right? That's really, and review what that's saying to you. And even if you get someone to even give you the results of that and a good debrief of that, that's number one. So look into yourself. And what does that mean? Oh, I'm good at this. I love doing that. And a litmus test would be, at the end of the day, you get home to your family, or if you're living alone, and you are exhausted because most of the day you were doing something that wasn't fun for you, wasn't passionate for you. And that's a good litmus test. Did I do most? And speaking of Marcus Buckingham, only 22% of people, even after years of doing this Gallup poll, are, I'll call it, happy in their workplace, in their role. So that to me is so sad. So look at that. Once you've done that, I would go and look at getting feedback from people you trust. So this is how I see myself, because I want to know, should I go into leadership or not? Should I stay into leadership or not? So go and see some colleagues that you trust, maybe even your own leader, because maybe you're going through a process of promotion within the company and you want to get honest feedback as to, is it really because I'm made for this, or they don't have enough people in management and well, I'm it. So you really want to know those, and even with your people that you're most close to, whether it's your family or colleagues, what have you, really get that and ask them for that honest feedback. Really honest feedback. So then you've got your self-assessment, you've got some feedback from trusted people around you. And then you're going to look at, okay, so did I have any roles where in my past, whether it's volunteering, whether maybe it's in sports, maybe a summer job as a student where you were doing some tasks, some responsibilities in a leadership role. Were you a camp counselor? Were you the captain of your soccer team? And go back and think about, how did that make you feel? If your first thought was, oh, so energizing and working as a team and I was helping others achieve what they were going after, okay. Or, oh my gosh, how draining this people stuff, you're going to lean one way or another. So then let's say you lean the way of a leadership role and that's made for you and you want to develop in that role, remember that what type of a leader do you want to be? And secondly, are you made for this in the sense of you are there to serve others? You are there to make them succeed. It's not about you, but it's about the team, the organization. So that's one route to go, whether it's made for you or not. And there's no good or bad answer on that. But what if, I don't want that. And a lot of people are there in that questioning of, I don't know if I want that. I know that if I want to grow in the company, that hierarchy, to get more money, my family wants me to have more money, that proverbial, oh, you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, whatever, but there could be some family pressure to go up into an organization, and a lot of times that means being a leader. So what if you're not made for that? You don't want that. Potentially, you could be already in a role of a SME, a subject matter expert. So what does that mean? How do you know you're a subject matter expert? People come to you and ask you questions. What would you do with this? What's this all about? Where can I find that information? Typically, it's you are the go-to person, right? So you have that expertise and you have a role in the organization. So it's not just people managers. You can be a product manager. You could be a project manager, resource manager, where you may not have people reporting into you. If you think of scrum masters, right, in certain, organizations, what's that role? Are they directly managing people? Maybe, maybe not. Most of the time not. They're managing a process. And so they have to get along with people, right? They're not in an office closed and don't bother me all day. And in fact, a lot of scrum masters that I know are very great at communicating, influencing, and all that good stuff. And so even though you don't want to lead a team, as in having direct reports, you may have those skills and get energized by managing projects, managing a process, a product, a new product coming out. And so even though you don't like to manage people, you're still on a team, right? So as part of a team, you still need to communicate your powers of influencing, convincing, and being part of that team, that it's not just you alone. You are part of a bigger piece. Does that make sense?
Yeah. A lot of sense and a lot of things coming to my mind. So, and then what you're saying is that once, so being very, very honest in assessing that is leadership for me or am I meant for leadership? And if I'm not, then accepting that and being an SME, I'm still interacting with people. So I'm not operating all alone, but I'm not directly managing a team. I don't have people reporting into me. So so it's not about, I still need to do the work on myself and have those skills which are necessary when the people skills, if I may call them, but because I'm part of a team. And the only thing is that, yes, I don't need to manage a team directly if I don't want to. I choose not to do that because I think that's not for me. That's not something I love doing. Yeah. Now, what comes to my mind is it that sometimes when people are not honest with themselves, one, or two, they've never assessed in the first place, right? And they end up being leaders because they think that's the only way to progress, or that's the next logical step in my career path. And they end up being there. And that's where the whole misery starts. maybe for them as well as the people. So, would you talk to me a little bit around that?
Sure. And you bring up some really good points. And thank you for that, bring it down to where we are at this part of the conversation. And I think we've all heard people don't leave organizations, they leave managers. So to that point, so you didn't do that honest assessment of yourself, or maybe never thought of doing that. You are now a leader or have been a leader with this team or different teams throughout your career so far. And to your point, are you happy? Is this what you want to continue doing? Well, I've always been in this type of role. I guess I'm good at it. I guess I better continue. Okay, but are you? Are you using your strengths most of the time during the day, during the week? Are you one of those people, oh, you can't wait till Friday night? Oh my gosh, wait till your vacation. And I've seen people like that, oh my gosh, the proverbial calendar on the wall with X's, and they still have 4 years to retirement. That to me is so sad. So with that in mind, if you are in that role where, yeah, I'm there because, whatever, fill in the blank. And I'm not happy, but I'm kind of stuck because I have a mortgage, because I have to put the kids through school, because, right? And you feel totally stuck and you think that you're going to be stuck there for the rest of your career. Well, chances are you're going to move companies. There's so many changes and transformations in organizations, right? Mergers, acquisitions, closures, total remote working. There's so many things going on, changes constantly. So why not be proactive? And even though you've never done that assessment about yourself, take the time to do that. And I think you'd be amazed in all the things you're good at and all the things that jazzes you. Oh, I love it when I do this thing. Oh my gosh, I want to do that more. And so go out, and there's a lot of free assessments. There's a lot of, you can buy books with different assessments in them, whatever your method. Maybe if you have a progressive HR department in your organization, hey, I'd like to know, what assessments are available to me in this organization. Whatever way that you want to go and find them, be honest with yourself and say, okay, now is the time. I have to take time for myself. I want to know what jazzes me, what am I good at, and what am I not good at? So do that. So that's why I'm saying, no matter where in your career, and maybe you haven't done it, and it's not too late, you can still do it. Doesn't matter if you only have 3 years left, 10 years left, doesn't matter. Do you want to be exhausted for the next 10 years, or do you want to be jazzed? And guess what? Once you have that clarity, and it doesn't come overnight, but let's be honest, and you get the feedback, but people you trust, and oh, great. Now your mindset is open to opportunities, either within your organization or outside the organization. And guess what? In this global economy of remote working, even though you might be located in Asia, Africa, South America, and your head office is where I am in Montreal, doesn't matter, right? But those opportunities now are open to you. And you're more focused on what you want and what you want that future to look like. So guess what? If we're going down the road of whether internal promotion or outside the organization, those interview questions, you're not answering, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I've done that. Here's what really jazzes me. When I'm doing this thing and I get these results, and this just propels my passion, whatever words you want to use. But that, imagine if everyone had the opportunity to know this and to do this. to help them look at that, like, for themselves. And how that impacts the organization. Let's say in your example, maybe they're not a great manager, and maybe they're affecting that team's output, call it output, whatever word you want to call it. And it's like people are leaving and there's a turnover, but it's hard to find people. And so they're there. Some might be toxic. So imagine going into your organization and saying, I want to know more, to see that will help the organization, the team, and yourself, right? It's not just, and then you're going, oh my goodness. Now, whether you were in your past or maybe this year going through a 360 evaluation, and those can be brutal. It can be brutal when you haven't done that self-assessment.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious about what your thoughts are at this point.
Yeah. So what occurs to me, I recall having this conversation with a senior leader who shared that he was in the leadership role, and he was kind of an SME, but he changed his way or path to getting into a general management kind of a thing because he thought that's more lucrative, that's broader, okay, and the scope is way more in terms of progress, and risks are lesser, and SME becomes too focused, and I'm interacting with not many people. I don't know how much will I grow. And maybe he's really good at it. He knows that. And yet, so I think somewhere this, what you're saying is so powerful, and so profound. But I see a lot of leaders, because of the lack of access to this. I'm using the word access because they never even think about this, and there's no mechanism. They just get into this whole race and then just turning people after people, and then they keep going up that ladder, and that's what you see the others, and you do that. So very few I see who really pause, and they do this assessment, and they are willing to really follow their heart, once they've done the assessment. So for people who are SMEs, how can they really grow? Because the general belief is, oh, it's too cumbersome. I don't know how far will I reach with that. And like you said, there are liabilities, there are those norms that I want to confirm to the society and then my family, and etc. etc. So how can, I mean, the scope is there definitely, but what is needed for somebody to follow that route?
It's a very good question. And I'm seeing it more and more. It's always existed, but I'm seeing it more in organizations.
Yeah.
In the last 3-4 years, of whether they are a SME still or have gone into the management route and have returned to a SME role.
So.
And what we're hearing and experiencing with our clients is, so they've gone here and they're going, the stress, is it worth the extra whatever money per month? Maybe, maybe not. So you may think you need that to grow. And what does that mean, to grow?
Yeah.
Are we talking about money, more money to buy more things, but doesn't equate to happiness, as we all know? Or as a SME, how can I grow? And those are great conversations to have. So as you go through that time to self-assess yourself, do these strengths, what am I good at, whatever. And maybe as part of a bigger team, you would like to be better at communicating. And communication is huge. But you are more of that introvert, let's say, as an example, and you're on that team, with your colleagues, reporting to a person, and you're not speaking up in these meetings, and you've got that expertise, and maybe you'll be called upon to voice your opinion, but maybe you lack the courage, you lack the comfortableness in doing so. So there's one area you can go as an example, develop. What does that mean? You can certainly, again, progressive HR department, and they have access to maybe online training. Online training is good, you know, the self-paced and all of that, and that's fine for some information. But how do you apply what you just learned?
Yeah.
Is there a buddy system? Is there an internal coach that can help you apply these principles? Or maybe it's a coach, period, that for your development. You've determined, I want to be better at communicating. I want to be better at XYZ, whatever it is. And it can be more of the interpersonal type of skills. It can be more of the problem-solving skills. It can be more of managing project skills. It doesn't necessarily need to be on managing. See what you want to develop and grow. Because, and unfortunately it does happen, right? I think you've seen this as well, where I'm a SME and I'm the king of the castle here. I know. And so maybe you, as a friend, a close colleague, hey, you know, I listened to this podcast and maybe we should do our self-assessment and look at that. Been there, done that. I'm great as a, you know, and I don't need to change or develop. You're going to come across these folks. And I would say that that's dangerous to the team, to the organization. Does this person need to grow? Sure. We're seeing it from this perspective, right? Yeah, he needs to grow or she needs to grow. So all that to say also, they need to be motivated to do so.
Yeah.
Whether they're a SME or whether they're a leader, if you stop looking an introspection into yourself, how do you develop? How do you know your worth? And I'm not talking money, but the value you bring to the team or organization. How do you know what that worth is and what your future is? Because guess what? When companies downsize and you've got someone that not motivated to develop and like, I'm the king of the castle, who are they letting go first? Right?
Yeah.
So to think of it in that perspective as well. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I'm good at this. I'm a SME and I still need to grow. And there's still things I need to learn. In fact, I've heard just recently, and I've heard it over the years, but again, this week was new graduates. They're graduating in 2023, 2024, and what they started learning in their first year of university is not even applicable anymore. So think of that in a SME role. What you've learned and what you've amassed as experience and knowledge, maybe tomorrow is worthless. So open yourself to, yes, develop your skills and learn new skills, absolutely, but also with an eye on the future. What does that mean? What you like to do? What are some of those roles in your organization or outside your organization, looking at the bigger picture? Where can I be of value to myself and to teams and organizations? Thoughts?
Wow. Interesting. So, when you're talking about what you're saying is that as an SME also, I need to be honest in assessing the maybe the coaching needs or the upskilling needs and and work on those areas, maybe again reaching out to HR or maybe reaching out to an external professional coach, but implementing, working on whatever that area is within that area of expertise. Um, so how would you or what would you say? Because what I see a lot of people, one is that, like you said, that, oh, I'm not even willing to look at, I'm an SME. Maybe, I've been there, I've done that, I don't even need to look at it. And then, of course, somewhere along the route, you face a repercussion there, when maybe there's downsizing happening or something. But would you also agree, Anne, that, or where would you draw a line in terms of, is it somebody who's not passionate about leadership, or is it a very strong belief system which is limiting beliefs, which is kind of pulling me back from showing up as maybe I have the potential to be a great leader, but somewhere I have those huge limiting beliefs which do not let me show up as a compassionate leader. And that's really the challenge. So how do you assess that? Because when I'm assessing, again, I'm being governed by those beliefs. So where do you draw that line?
What an excellent, excellent question. And you're so right. So I'm a new graduate, or I've been in a role for 2 years, or what have you. And my leader is not great. My leader is, let's call it old school, very authoritative, very, no, you do this, you do this, you do that. Let's just lay it out like that. And you're going, I don't want to be a leader. That's not me. To your point, to your question, and it's an excellent one. So why would I want that? So as you assess, because we've been talking a lot about the SMEs, but as you assess, well, do I want to be a leader or not? I don't know. I don't want to be that, right? And one of the things I found, and I thought very appropriate to answer your question, is how do I know that management is for me?
Yeah.
Managers just don't come up with solutions and ideas. They listen, they ask questions, and truly value the input of others. If you tend to think that you're the only one who can solve a problem, or the only one with great ideas for your department, you're probably not ready to coach others. So if you are there because you love to do this task and solve problems, but not really interested in helping others do that, that's a good test for yourself, and to be honest with yourself. So let's say you go, yeah, I'm good at that, but I also really like helping others. I really like working on project with others, and the collaboration, we learn from each other. I can help them, they can help me. And a lot about leadership is about listening, right? So if you're top down being very authoritative, you're not listening typically. Again, a very stereotypical example here, but you're not. But if you are a leader that is open and has that mindset of, it's not about me, it's about the team. If the team does well and the team is growing, and the mark of a good leader, that they can be promoted or go to another organization and the team doesn't fall apart because they've grown and they know more than they did a year before, 2 years before. So to that point is, okay, I don't know if I want to be that leader. And again, there's different types of assessment. One is called the identity matrix. And that is a great way to look at, and I won't get into the details of it, but basically, what type of a leader do I want to be? And what are the things that I don't want to be? Right? So you're looking at both. No, that's not the type of, this is what I would like to be as a person, as the role of a leader. And then looking at, okay, so what does that mean? Again, I really think coaching is a great way to expand your mindset. to expand, not only learning about yourself, but that there's other ways of thinking. Open up that mind to other things, because maybe your example is just that manager that might be toxic. And who knows, maybe that manager's having so many difficulties in their private life, it's spilling into the professional life. Maybe they're not a bad person, but maybe they're just not in the right role. So don't stop at, oh, that's, I don't want that. It's look further than that. Look further than that. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. It does. So what you're essentially saying is that whether I'm meant to be a leader, as in that's where my heart lies, I really want to pursue that, or I I'm not meant for it, which means I just don't like it. So um, this is not who I am. I don't want to be here. I'm good as an SME. Versus assessing and working with a coach, or finding a way to kind of navigate through it to figure out whether it is just because of certain experience that I've had, and that is shaping my idea of what leadership is, and therefore I am restricting myself, or I'm not even exploring it. So to be able to make that distinction between these two, so I really do not like it, that's not me, versus I'm just holding myself back because of X, Y, and Z, and I figure that out, right? So, and that needs help, that needs me to disrupt my thinking, and I need maybe somebody to help me do that.
Yes,
Yeah,
and I would add to that,
yeah,
there's hierarchies, and a
yeah.
lot of the large organizations go, but hierarchical.
Sure.
What we're seeing, and that's been around for a long time, what we're seeing is more of the matrix type of organizations. Whereas maybe we're on a team together, but I'm the leader of that project for the next 3 months. And it doesn't mean that I'm managing on the performance level necessarily. Sometimes, yes, but the performance, yeah, okay. And maybe in 3 months, then you're my leader in this project. So even though kind of that definition of a leader is very, it's not defined as A plus B equals C.
Yeah.
And so even though you may or may not want to be a leader, guess what? Look at the future. And there's so many polls out there, and the big consulting firms coming out of what's the workplace of the future look like, and et cetera, of which from the perspective of today. But think about, even though I'm a SME and I may or may not want to be a leader, I may want to develop those skills because the future is this. I mean, there's even the, results-oriented workplace environments. And again, what does that look like? Again, so everyone has the capacity to be a leader if they want to. But we can't all be leaders, right? If you're looking at hierarchy. However, in other types of matrix or other structures, oh, well, maybe for the next 3 months, I need to up my leadership skills because I'm a project manager here. I'm a scrum master for this thing. So I would suggest to not be in a square box of this is what leadership is, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, a lot of sense. And what comes to my mind as you say this is that this, to my mind, also brings in a flavor of you taking charge of your journey, where a lot of people are, they've kind of left the remote controls in other people's hands and letting others decide what you must do, you mustn't. So they don't even spare seconds or moments to sit down and reflect on what is it that excites me, where do I want to go, or what is meant for me, and it's completely about other people doing X, other people doing Y, and that's unfair, and you shouldn't be doing this, and blaming, and in the first place, I'm not even, pausing and reflecting on where am I? Is this even meant for me? What am I doing? So I think somewhere very important, as you were just saying this, I think so important to pause and first you take ownership, irrespective of what's happening there. Are you where you belong? Like where you're.
Are you the master of your development growth? Absolutely. I totally agree. And again, if we're looking at maybe some organizations, okay, here's your path in our organization.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're doing this, then you're doing that, and this is, we're going to teach you this, and you're going to do that, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
From the moment you are onboarded, right?
Sure.
And then you get to the year end performance eval, and where do you want to go in your career? Well, I have no idea. I've been here 6 months. I'm not sure. Well, do you want to be management, or do you want to, and sometimes you don't know. You don't know. And then another question is, what do you need from me as your manager, and what do you need to develop?
Yeah.
And so many people say, I don't know. And fair enough if you're at the beginning of a new role or whatever, but let's say you've been in that organization for a while and that you don't know. Well, go and find out, because what do I want? Hence the self-assessment, asking people around you and defining what that is and what you want to develop. So imagine the scenario that, oh, how can I as your leader help you? And or what would you like to develop? Well, I'm noticing that even though I don't have direct reports, I really need to be better at active listening. I really need to be better at speaking up in our team meetings. Maybe I don't have the confidence, or maybe it's coming out wrong, or whatever. I would really love to learn more about that. Now, you don't have to have a name of a course. This is the course or the book I want, but to express what it is you want to learn more about and to apply. And even say to your superior to say, and I would like you to be my coach in that. When I raise my hand and say, oh my goodness, I learned this and it didn't go so well when I gave feedback to a colleague because they did it wrong or whatever, that's what I need from you. Kind of that soundboarding and coaching to say, okay, this might have gone well, maybe, so let's continue learning. Imagine an organization that leader is interested in your development, and you are the master of your development. You get to say, and maybe they say, oh yeah, well, everybody in this role, they have to take this course.
Mm.
If it's meaningful to you, and if it's, yeah, makes sense, great. But what if it's a course that has nothing to do? It's maybe somebody 10 years ago put this list together, what you need to know, and it's knowing the basics of Excel. I'm just being facetious here, but so all that to say is, absolutely claim that responsibility. Claim that and I would even challenge you to do that now, no matter where you are. If you're looking for the next role, and ask those questions in the interview. What are the development opportunities?
Yeah.
What are the learning opportunities in your organization? And who's responsible for that? And what do we have access to? And whether they have it internally, if it's externally, do you pay for that development? Work related, obviously.
Yeah.
And if you're looking for another within your organization, take that opportunity. Maybe you have one-on-ones with your leader. Maybe it's weekly, bi-weekly, what have you, and say, you know what? I'm really looking at my development. I like this organization. I want to grow. And I'm looking to see from your perspective, I've done an introspection. I've done an assessment on myself, and I'm not so bad at these things, but I want to develop this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
And to have that relationship, and maybe not everyone has that relationship with their leader.
Absolutely.
So it takes courage. But that also gives you some heads up on if they don't believe in developing their folks and they don't believe in leaders helping in the development, etc., and the growth, do you want to stay in this organization? And that takes a whole other conversation. But that's where my head is going to answer your question.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love what you said about in the interview, bring that in, bring that whole conversation around the development plan and what's in store. Yeah. And you're right. If if you don't think there is enough support from your leader with respect to your development, then maybe you need to again be honest with yourself and stand firm for yourself whether what's non-negotiable. So do I even want to be here or around this? And you're right, that's another whole deeper conversation. And at the same time, would you agree that um, just because I don't have somebody supporting me or my manager, because of course there's a hierarchy and there's a system, and unless he supports, maybe things are not as easy. But when you show up in a way where you are committed and one after the other, you show up and you don't leave it. You don't leave it at, oh, he's not supporting me. Okay, let's forget this. No. Then there's somebody in the organization who's watching you and is going to show up for you. Maybe not your immediate reporting boss, but people are observing. I mean, in my experience, I don't think anybody would ever, any organization would want to let go of somebody who's a value creator, who's willing to create a lot of value and do whatever is needed for that. What do you think?
100%. And it's not always easy to do. If
Absolutely.
you're new to the organization and you're not getting it from your leader,
Yeah.
who are you going to get it from? This helping you and in your development. Absolutely. And to that, going back to the interview and finding out, and the company can say, oh, yes, we have a development, we care about you. And maybe they do. And ask more specific. Oh, give me an example. Somebody that's within the last year come in, what was their development, just to have that. And do your due diligence. There's so many sites, Rate My Employer, and there's so many of them, right? So, and if you're not getting that vibe that they're totally authentic, here's a good question to ask. Throughout this selection process, would it be possible for me to talk to some of your employees, some people on the team that I would be on, just to get a feel for the culture here, just to get a feel for, and if they say, absolutely, we'll set it up. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
That's a good sign.
Wow.
Or B, well, no. For whatever they say, but the thing is no.
Yeah.
Interesting. May I ask, it takes courage, but you're not an employee yet, and you want to have a company that fits where you're at and what you want, and be happy and passionate about what you're doing. Ask the question. That's your opportunity to ask. Oh, may I ask why? Well, this is nuclear testing, and it's the confidentiality and the NDAs and whatever. Like, I'm being facetious again, but oh, okay. But before I get hired and I sign an NDA, would I be able to speak to people? Yes, sure, no problem. Okay. There's, but typically you're not in that situation. So you can ask why. I'm just curious as to the resistance to me talking to people currently working here. And if they are so uncomfortable in trying to answer that question, and if your first line of interviewing is HR, it'll show on their face. And they almost want to say sometimes, don't apply. Because this manager's toxic, but they're not going to say that, right?
Yes.
But it's your opportunity to step up to your development, step up for your career of what you want and what you want to learn and apply moving forward. Does that make sense?
Lot of sense, lot of sense. I think this is so powerful. Yeah. And that just makes me think, I've done that, mindlessly getting into a job and not even assessing, with no idea, no clarity. Like, I don't know, but just that I need to get into a job, as long as it's a brand, as long as it's a good, nice workplace. So yeah, I see a lot of people, with this criteria, which are not the real criteria, and they just get into it without doing their due diligence, without even figuring out certain things. And I think a lot of people do not even know what their non-negotiables are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do I even talk about? What do I even ask about? Do my due diligence around, So,
Yeah, very true.
so
And sometimes
love
it's the upbringing. Sometimes is, you know, they don't want to rock the boat, or maybe not courageous, or don't feel confident in asking those questions. And I'm going, if not now, then when?
Yeah.
You're in an interview process. Yes, you need a job. Yes, you need to pay your school debts. Yes, what have you. And I get that. Been there, done that, took many pictures. But to your point of that clarity, and if you're not getting a good vibe and they are showing you who they are, and you're not, what an opportunity to step up and ask those questions, because for your next interview, it'll be easier.
Yeah. And for sure you will have a workplace where you'll have all the tick marks. So a lot of times people are like, no, such a workplace doesn't even exist, or you can't be so choosy. That's the words that I've heard so many people talk about. So yeah, got it. Lovely. I think such amazing insights. Very, very, I would say, very relatable, and things which where I can, okay, this is where I am, and maybe this is what I can do next. So very actionable in that sense. And I'm sure people who are going to be watching this or listening to this will have their. I think they'll have a lot of aha moments, in the sense, oh, okay, this is maybe what I'm lacking. So lovely. And I'd urge all of you to watch this, and maybe watch it the second time if you really need to. If you have any questions, any perspectives, any thoughts around what you hear, please feel free to put them here. You want some perspective from Anne. Anne, would you be willing to respond in case there are some questions that come in?
Absolutely, yes.
Great. And, we're going to be tagging, Anne would be tagged on this. So please go ahead, follow her, go check out her profile. I think I said she's beautiful, she's amazing, because I love her vibe. And I think the pre-conversation that we had, I just could feel so connected with her, so relatable, kind of, I love the whole vibe. So I'm sure you're going to love, and I love the way the profile has been put on LinkedIn also. So everything is like very, very profound. That's the vibe that I'm getting. That's the sense that I'm getting. So go check out. And in any way, if you think that's what your organization needs, she's your go-to person. So go ahead and do that. Lovely. Thank you so much, Anne. Any closing remarks that you have?
That vibe, we had it in the first 5 minutes, I think, and you're so right. And when we come across people that are like-minded, and what I mean by like-minded is we have an open mind and learning different things, and that we don't know everything. I've learned so much from you, and in that conversation we had, and it's like, wow. And look at, here I am in Montreal, Canada, you're in India, different time zones.
Yeah.
And wow, connecting with someone across the world, literally. And it's like, wow, and what's going on there, and what's going on here, and the global perspective. I think is fabulous that you're doing these podcasts and opening up not only my mind, but other people that have that opportunity to view the podcasts. It's a great series, so thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. And this was really valuable. Really. Thank you, Anne. Lovely.